This message is for every man who's ever stared at a blank screen and asked, "Why isn't she reaching out?" If you've ever refreshed your messages hoping her name pops up, if you've ever held back from texting first, wondering if your silence would speak louder, this is for you. Because what if I told you her silence is speaking louder than any message she could send? And what if I told you that the way you respond to that silence determines everything? Comment below. I don't chase breadcrumbs. This is more than a video. This is a wake-up call. If you're tired of feeling like you're guessing her intentions, tired of the anxiety, the second-guessing, the waiting around for a woman who's not waiting for you, then hear this. Silence is not confusion, it's communication, but only the disciplined man, the stoic man, the man with frame, can hear what it's actually saying. This message will hit deep, and it's supposed to, because you're done wasting time, and because some of you have built your lives around trying to fix women who never asked to be fixed. If this video wakes something up in you, subscribe to the channel. You're not just helping us grow, you're helping more men get access to truth. Truth that could stop them from chasing, from begging, from crumbling. Number 1, she's waiting for you to react. There's a reason her silence feels louder than anything she's ever said, and it's because silence isn't empty, it's full of intent, and whether you know it or not, she's using it to observe you from the shadows. She's pulled back, and now she's watching the space between you like it's a magnifying glass over your soul. And every word you don't say, every text you don't send, every moment you don't fold becomes a piece of the answer she's waiting for. You think she's forgotten about you, don't you? But she hasn't. She's just created a vacuum to see what rushes to fill it, your confidence or your chaos. Picture this. A man is sitting alone, staring at his phone, wondering if he should text. He's rehearsed it 3 times already, deleted and rewritten it, hesitating between silence and vulnerability, but he can't decide because deep down he doesn't trust his own worth. He doesn't trust that his absence carries power. That's the man she's waiting to see surface, not because she wants the message, but because that moment right there, when you're alone with your emotions, is where your identity is revealed. Are you the storm, or are you drowning in one? And it's at this point that most men fail, because they make the silence about themselves, when really it's about what the silence reveals. A woman will often stop messaging, not to hurt you, but to create a mirror, one that reflects your emotional discipline or lack of it. And here's the harsh truth. The man who cannot sit with silence, the man who needs a reply to feel validated, who crumbles when ignored, is not a man she can respect. Because if her moment of distance causes you to beg, to chase, to break frame, then you were never standing on solid ground to begin with. You can't lead a relationship if your emotions are pulled in 10 directions every time she doesn't reply for a few hours. And so her silence, intentionally or not, becomes a test, but not one of loyalty or interest. It's a test of you. And here's a question that will change the way you look at all of this. What if the silence you're trying to fill is actually a challenge to grow into the version of yourself that she'd be unable to walk away from? Because truthfully, a man's greatest proof of strength isn't in how loud he talks or how fast he responds. It's in how calm he remains when nothing is certain, when no one is reassuring him, when everything feels unstable and he still shows up like a rock. There's a saying that power lies not in how others treat you, but in how little their actions shake your foundation. So when she's quiet, ask yourself, am I rooted in my identity, or is my self-worth hanging on the ping of a notification? You see, every second you stare at the screen is a second she's gathering data, not on what you'll say, but on what kind of man you become without her words guiding you. And for many of you watching this, you already know she's watching. You feel it. She's liking your posts, but not replying. She's online, but hasn't said a word. That's not a glitch. It's a calculated silence, but the mistake isn't in recognizing it. It's in reacting to it with fear instead of power. And fear shows up when your identity is not built on something deeper than attention. If her silence makes you question everything about yourself, then you've placed her on a pedestal so high that your value depends on her mood. That's no way to live. That's emotional slavery, and it's what keeps you locked in cycles of attraction, rejection, and confusion. Now imagine another man, same situation. He notices the silence. He feels the pull. But instead of texting out of fear, he goes deeper into his mission. He works out. He reads. He makes money. He levels up. Not because he's trying to make her regret it, but because he refuses to make anyone the center of his emotional compass. That man becomes the gravitational force. She feels it. She might not reply immediately, but she'll check. She'll notice the shift. She'll sense that something about him is different, because he didn't need her to be okay. And that, more than any romantic message or apology, is what wakes her interest again. Not the pursuit, not the apology, but the absence of need. And this is where Stoicism becomes your most powerful weapon, not because it numbs you, but because it trains you to respond, not react. To observe your emotions without becoming enslaved to them. To feel the urge to reach out, but to choose growth instead. To remind yourself that her silence is not rejection, it's redirection. It's an invitation to become the version of you that doesn't flinch when others disappear. Ask yourself this: if she never replies, would your path still matter? Would your goals still stand? Would your day still carry purpose? If the answer is no, then this silence is doing you a favor. It's exposing the cracks in your sense of direction. And before you chase her, fix that. Because the man who wins is not the one who wins her back. It's the one who builds so much in her absence that she questions why she ever left. And maybe she comes back, maybe she doesn't. But by then you won't need her to, because you'll have built something far more valuable, yourself. You'll have gained emotional sovereignty. You'll no longer beg for closure or chase ghosts in your inbox. You'll be grounded, certain, powerful, and that's the kind of man who never waits for a reply to feel worthy. Number 2, she's not yours to fix. When a woman goes silent, some of you assume it's your responsibility to decode her silence, as though it's your duty to soothe a storm you didn't create. And that belief alone is the beginning of your emotional imprisonment, because the moment you believe her emotional distance is yours to repair, you lose sight of the truth, that not every silence is your fault, and not every pain is yours to treat. And if you live your life constantly trying to heal wounds that aren't yours, you'll burn out and break down in a loop of overgiving, wondering why your efforts never seem to bring peace. She's not a broken puzzle piece waiting to be rearranged into happiness by your validation or kindness or constant emotional labor. She may be dealing with her own internal chaos, fears, traumas, expectations, confusion, but that doesn't mean it's your job to rescue her from herself. And the belief that, if I love her harder she'll open up again, is not only flawed, it's dangerous. It pulls you into the mindset that your worth is measured by how well you can fix someone who hasn't even asked to be saved. Ask yourself, would you expect someone to carry your mental weight while saying nothing in return? Would you want someone to solve your emotional riddles without ever letting them into your mind? Then why are you offering yourself as the solution to someone who hasn't told you there's a problem? This belief that being the good guy means becoming emotionally available 24/7, endlessly patient, forgiving everything, offering attention, affection, and answers without boundaries is the very trap that drains men of their power. Because being emotionally intelligent doesn't mean being emotionally enslaved. There is a difference between being compassionate and being consumed. And when you start feeling like your relationship is a counseling session where your feelings are the ones always held back in favor of fixing hers, you're not in love. You're in emotional debt, and the interest on that loan keeps growing every day she pulls away and you chase, every time she gets distant and you panic, every moment she shows indifference and you overcompensate with presence. And this is where the red pill truth hurts. Not every woman who pulls away is broken. Some are just not that into you, and instead of admitting that they're not choosing you, they retreat into silence, hoping you get the hint without confrontation. And your instinct to chase that silence, to fill it with gifts, messages, comfort and effort, only pushes her further away, because deep down she never needed fixing. She needed space or clarity or someone else altogether. And when your entire identity is built on being needed, the absence of need becomes your enemy. This is where you have to decide who you're really trying to heal, her or yourself. Because the truth is, a lot of men project their own need for validation through the lens of heroism, thinking, if I help her enough, she'll love me. But what you're really saying is, if I sacrifice enough, maybe I'll be chosen. And that's not love. That's survival. That's desperation. That's a man who hasn't realized he's worthy even when he isn't rescuing anyone. Imagine a man constantly texting a woman who hasn't replied in days, sending voice notes, reposting stories that might catch her attention, checking her last scene, overthinking every detail of her silence like it's a mission sent from above. And now picture that same man channeling that energy into building a business, crafting his body into strength, surrounding himself with other grounded men, and creating a life so full that no one's distance could make him feel empty again. That's not fantasy, that's choice. And that choice begins when you stop believing that a woman's healing is your responsibility. Some of you were taught that masculinity means carrying everything in silence, being the anchor, fixing the cracks, always being there even when no one's showing up for you, and that's noble until it becomes self-abandonment. Because the man who fixes everyone and forgets himself ends up resenting the very people he tried to save. You are not her therapist, and even if she cries, withdraws, and runs hot and cold, you are not meant to interpret that as an invitation to do more. Sometimes her silence means she's overwhelmed. Sometimes it means she's distracted. Sometimes it means she's done. And none of those are yours to repair. Your role is not to dissect every mood swing, every passive-aggressive delay in response, every sudden loss of affection like you're solving a case. Because the truth is, the more you try to repair what isn't yours, the more broken you become. Real strength is in knowing when to walk away. Not because you're giving up, but because you're respecting yourself enough to not play a role you were never asked to fill. And you might think, but if I don't fix it, I'll lose her. And to that I say, if fixing it is the only way she stays, then she was never staying for you. She was staying for the version of you that gave up his self-respect for her comfort. And when you live like that, she may stick around, but she won't admire you. She won't respect the man who reshaped himself just to avoid conflict. She won't desire the man who becomes emotionally small so that she doesn't feel overwhelmed. You want to be desired. Build yourself into a man who knows how to hold space for someone's growth without making their journey your responsibility. That means when she's quiet, you stay consistent, not in chasing, but in your direction. You show up for yourself so intensely that her presence or absence no longer determines the value of your day. You wake up and hit your schedule. You stay in shape. You meditate. You read. You work. You build. You become the man whose gravity is so powerful that anyone who drifts from you feels it in their chest. Not because you begged, but because you became. That's the difference between the man who texts, "Are you okay?" at 2 a.m. and the man who's asleep because he knows his energy is too valuable to waste on someone who isn't communicating clearly. You don't fix her. You fix your attachment to being the fixer. That's the freedom. That's the growth. That's when she starts to notice that you've changed, not because you're cold, but because you've reclaimed your warmth and stopped pouring it into someone who wasn't holding space for it. When you do that, everything shifts, not just in relationships, but in life, because now you're walking with direction, not desperation. And she may return, she may not. But you'll no longer need her return to feel like a man, because you've remembered something more important. You were never meant to rescue her. You were meant to remember yourself. Number 3, she's measuring your value. There is a moment in every relationship where the words stop flowing, where the energy shifts and the silence creeps in, and for most men, this becomes a source of anxiety, confusion, and overthinking. But for the man who understands the language of emotional psychology and presence, this is the most revealing moment of all, because what you don't realize is that silence is often her way of watching without speaking, of stepping back not to disappear but to observe. And what she's observing isn't whether you'll beg or break. It's whether you'll remain centered or collapse into neediness. And that subtle yet powerful test is something few men recognize until it's too late, because the way you hold yourself in the quiet moments speaks volumes about the depth of your self-worth and your belief in your own value. And while some will argue that this is manipulation, it isn't always malicious. It's often unconscious and instinctive, because just like you want to know if she's genuine, safe, consistent, she wants to know if you're stable, anchored, and grounded in your masculine essence. And she can't always ask you directly because words can lie, but your energy can't. And so she measures your value not by how much you say, but by what you become when there's nothing being said. And this is where many men reveal their fragility. They panic at the void. They fill it with over-texting, long explanations, sudden declarations of love, or jealousy disguised as concern. And all the while, she's learning that your value is not solid, that it depends on her mood, her attention, her affection, that without her immediate feedback, your emotional world becomes unstable. And that tells her everything she needs to know, because women are biologically and psychologically drawn to safety, not just physical but emotional. And if your sense of direction vanishes the moment she withdraws, she will never fully trust you to lead or stand strong when life gets hard. So you need to understand that the way you respond to distance is how she determines your strength. Imagine 2 men. One gets ghosted for a few days and immediately spirals, calling, messaging, checking social media, looking for clues, replaying every conversation, trying to find what went wrong. And the other notices the distance and calmly redirects his focus toward his goals, maintaining his rhythm, not out of spite, but out of self-respect, because he knows that his identity is not hanging on her availability. And over time, who do you think she'll wonder about more? Who do you think maintains a sense of power and presence even in absence? It's not about playing hard to get. It's about becoming hard to shake, because value is not proven through words, but through presence. And presence means the ability to hold frame even when nothing around you validates it. And that's the hardest thing for most men, because we've been taught to chase approval, to fix, to apologize, to explain. And in doing so, we become less of ourselves and more of a reflection of what we think she wants. And she can feel that loss of authenticity instantly, because women are tuned into shifts in energy more than shifts in logic. And when you start adapting your identity to soothe her uncertainty, you lose the polarity that attracted her in the first place. So instead of reacting to the silence, return to your purpose, build your structure, refine your mission, because when she pulls away, she's looking to see if your world collapses or if it continues spinning without needing her affirmation to function. This is the point where many relationships either evolve or dissolve, not because of a fight or a betrayal, but because one person realizes the other cannot hold space without falling apart. And emotional containment is one of the rarest and most powerful forms of masculinity. It doesn't mean being cold or distant. It means being so rooted in your value that her silence doesn't steal your focus and you maintain your rhythm regardless of the emotional temperature. And when you live like that, you become the man who doesn't just attract women, you attract respect, admiration, and trust. And those things cannot be bought or begged for. They are earned by the man who knows how to be still without being passive, strong without being loud, loving without being dependent, and her tests are not always a game. Sometimes they are her way of saying, "Can I trust your silence?" Because in your silence, she hears your stability. In your restraint, she feels your self-worth. And in your consistency, she senses your direction. And when she doesn't feel that, she starts to pull away, not because you're a bad man, but because your value is too fluid, too reactive, too hinged on her choices. And that's a heavy burden for any woman to carry. And even if she likes you, she will start to feel tired of holding both your emotional frame and hers. And when that happens, the relationship stops feeling like polarity and starts feeling like responsibility. And no woman wants to mother the man she's trying to respect. You see, the most magnetic men are not always the best looking or the richest. They are the ones who are least affected by emotional storms, not because they don't care, but because they know exactly who they are, and their value is carved not by compliments or attention, but by discipline, focus, and emotional sovereignty. And the irony is that the more you focus on becoming that man, the more her silence shifts from a test into admiration, and she comes back not because you begged, but because she realized she's witnessing something rare. A man who doesn't crumble in the absence of affection, a man who doesn't chase love but commands it through his clarity, a man who has value because he is valuable, not because he's constantly trying to prove it. And that realization changes everything, because now you're not competing for her attention. You're choosing whether or not her presence fits the life you're building, and that's when your value becomes undeniable. Because you're no longer hoping to be chosen, you are choosing who deserves to share your space and whether she stays or walks. You remain intact, grounded and unshaken, because you've finally learned that her silence was never the problem. Your need for validation was. Number 4. Become a man. She regrets leaving. There comes a moment after she leaves, after the texts stop, after the calls fade into silence, when you are left standing in a quiet room full of memories and unanswered questions. And it's in that silence where most men either collapse or awaken, because everything you used to count on, her laughter, her presence, her validation, is now a ghost. And that's where the journey begins, not into trying to win her back, but into reclaiming everything you gave away trying to keep her. Because the truth that few will tell you is this: the man she regrets leaving isn't the one who begged, who pleaded, who sent paragraph after paragraph trying to make her understand. He's the one who disappeared into discipline, who vanished into vision, who drowned his heartbreak in purpose and came out sculpted by the fire she left behind. And if that stings, it should. Because the truth isn't here to comfort you. It's here to awaken you, to show you that becoming the man she regrets leaving isn't about revenge or making her suffer. It's about becoming the kind of man who doesn't chase validation because his life is already too full, too focused, too magnetic to revolve around anyone who couldn't see his worth. And that transformation begins not with anger, but with clarity. Clarity that the version of you she walked away from may have been too soft, too emotional, too uncertain, too available, too eager to prove instead of simply being. And while that man might have loved her with sincerity, he hadn't yet learned how to love himself with strength. And the man who learns to do that, who turns heartbreak into hunger, silence into self-reflection, and absence into ambition, becomes the kind of man who isn't just remembered. He's felt in every room she walks into without him, not because he was perfect, but because he evolved into something rare, something no apology can earn back once it's gone. Now imagine a man who stops chasing after closure and starts chasing greatness instead, who uses every ounce of emotional pain not as fuel for rage, but as rocket fuel for reinvention, who wakes up earlier, who trains harder, who cuts the noise and builds discipline so intense that even the quiet becomes his companion. And while she's out there wondering if you're thinking of her, you're too focused on the version of yourself that never would have settled for being an option, because you've learned something no book or video or therapist can teach you. True value is silent, unshakable, and never begs to be seen. And that's when the tables turn, not because you manipulated them, but because you transformed them. And every time she thinks back to you, she doesn't remember the man who begged. She remembers the man who vanished and returned unrecognizable. And she regrets leaving, not because she lost love, but because she realizes she never truly met the man you were meant to become. And the reason this hits so deeply is because it's real. Because the men who rise after heartbreak rise differently. They don't just glow up, they grow through. They become disciplined in silence, selective in attention, obsessed with alignment, and suddenly the need to be wanted dissolves, because their worth no longer comes from being chosen, but from choosing themselves daily. And it starts with questions. What am I tolerating that's breaking me? Who am I becoming when no one's watching? Would I be proud to date me right now? And when you answer those honestly, you unlock a version of you that was buried under attachment and the fear of being alone. And now alone becomes your weapon, your lab, your forge, where you melt down the old self and recast it into the man who walks with such clarity, such intention, such presence, that even silence starts to speak for you. And let's talk practically, because this isn't about just mindset, it's about evolving in every way. Clean your space, organize your schedule down to the hour, remove every digital distraction that used to keep you tethered to the fantasy of who she was. Block if necessary, not from hatred but from healing. Fast from social media, fast from escapism. Train your body not for revenge but for resilience. Learn a skill that turns your time into value. Write goals that scare you, and then execute on them ruthlessly. And every time her memory comes back, let it be a reminder of the version of you that needed her to feel enough, and use that memory to build the man who only needs his mission to feel complete. And I promise you, when you do this, she will feel it. She might not say it, but she'll sense it. The shift, the upgrade, the calm, the way your silence is no longer absence but power. The way you speak less, but your presence says more. The way your energy no longer leans toward her but radiates inward. The way you're no longer the man trying to prove your value but the one who embodies it. And suddenly, all the things she thought you'd always be. The guy who'd always wait, always text first, always chase, fade away, and what's left is a man who has nothing to prove because he already became everything she underestimated. And maybe she reaches out, maybe she doesn't, maybe you get the apology, maybe you don't. But by the time that happens, you won't be the same, and that's the win. Not her coming back, but you never needing her to. Not because you hate her, but because you outgrew her. And even if you still love her in some way, it's from a distance that honors your evolution, not from a place that diminishes your self-worth, because becoming the man she regrets leaving doesn't mean becoming a better version for her. It means becoming the highest version despite her. And when you live like that, when you walk like that, when you wake up every day and build like that, regret stops being a hope and starts being a byproduct. And you don't need to hear her say it. You'll see it in the way she lingers on your stories, in the way her friends mention you, in the way she stumbles through small talk like she's trying to reconnect without saying she lost something she'll never get back. And none of that will move you anymore, because by then you'll know the man she regrets leaving is the man who stopped waiting to be chosen and chose himself instead. I'm putting together the most powerful step-by-step relationship guide ever created for men, built entirely on timeless Stoic principles that have stood the test of time. It's designed to help you reclaim your power, master your emotions, transform how you show up in every relationship, and unlock a level of attraction that makes chasing a thing of the past. Whether you've been ghosted, left in confusion, or just tired of giving more than you get, it's time to rise into a version of yourself that doesn't settle, doesn't beg, and doesn't break. Stay tuned for my upcoming ebook. Comment blueprint below if you want me to send it to you the moment it drops. Support this channel by liking, subscribing, and sharing this with a brother who needs to hear it. Because when you help us grow, you help men all over the world rise out of silence, confusion, and pain into purpose, presence, and power.